All right, we're going to go ahead and continue. We are now joined by Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr., drivers of the number 11 and number 19 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyotas. If you have a question for either one of them, please raise your hand and we will get a wireless microphone over to you. All right, we'll go ahead and start right up here, and then we'll go to Bob.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. This question for both of you. Pretty apparent that it seems like Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota as a whole is a little bit behind everybody right now. What one area do you look at and say we could be better here, and if we can get that fixed, we're going to be more competitive?
He's looking at you.
Everywhere. That's what we say on Mondays. Everywhere. I mean, I'm not sure, honestly. It's just a little bit everywhere, honestly, and just takes time. I mean, it's learning a lot of different new things, and there were some setbacks with with our testing car. There was a big crash in Texas last year with it, and it set us back with some data and whatnot. That's maybe that has an effect in it, but just trying to get our cars driving better and going faster.
Yeah, to his point, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. I think probably one of the biggest things for us has just been, not showing up on weekends close enough. And, we not a lot of people, I don't think, have talked about the schedule, but 15 minutes of practice, literally impound racing, you can't change springs and, major setup components during practice. So basically what you show up with, you fine tune with wedge and, shock clicks and, small adjustments, and you are racing. So really, if you're off, you're off. And I think for us, that's been the big thing. We're sim racing right now. And, we've been behind throughout testing, and, I feel like that's definitely hurt us. So we're all kind of searching and, at this point doing some testing.
Second question I have is for Denny. Denny, you're 22nd in points, and you look at that and go, man, maybe start to get a little concerned about where your season's headed, or do you look at it and say, we've had speed, we just maybe haven't executed, and we've been through this before, we're going to be fine?
I don't think we've been through this before, for sure, but I think you can catapult up the standings really, really quickly. The way things are, there's honestly really kind of short of Ross, who's been really good the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's just their finishes are bouncing around all over the place, and so I think you have a couple solid weeks where we don't get crashed or cause a crash. Like those things those things add up. But I mean, we talked about we're not happy with where our speed's at for sure, but certainly we're not a 22nd place team. And am I worried about making the playoffs, if that's what you're asking? No.
Bob Pockris, Fox Sports. Denny, 2311. Bubba doesn't have his crew chief and a couple of crew guys because of the wheel coming off. As an owner and a driver, I mean, are you concerned about the wheels? Do you believe that the wheels are coming off because guys aren't getting them tight, or do you feel like there's an inherent false sense of security with this system?
I think that they had, from the evidence I've seen, is a loose wheel from the very beginning of the race, and it just kept getting worse with each set of tires that they put on. I don't know what caused it. I don't know how or why, but it looked like this problem started on probably lap 1 of the race. So there is a concern. There's a lot of wheels falling off. You would think with single leg you wouldn't have that, but it's just, if you missed 1 or 2 nuts before, you always had backups. When you have one, that's it, and it's going to come off. So, I mean, yeah, there's a concern, but the concern I heard early on in the year was that you mount this wheel a few times, and next thing you know, it's not good anymore because it gets all mauled up, which is kind of what the RFK guys were doing at the beginning of the year to try to fix that. But yeah, I don't think that the teams really have perfected anything that's looks like the fix right now, and I don't know what the fix is, if there is any fix, or they just need to wait longer and get the wheels tighter. I'm not sure.
Trey Lyle, Virginia Talker Radio Network. For both of you, how are y'all viewing Richmond, as an organization with Joe Gibbs as kind of the barometer for where you are with the next gen car, just because of the past success you've had here. Obviously, Martin winning last year, Denny having a real shot to win both races. How do you view this as kind of where you're at with the car?
Yeah, I think, obviously we have high expectations, and I think we have a lot of people, JGR, that understand the track and understand what it takes to win here. But obviously, this is a whole different deal now. So I think for us, what we've learned throughout this season, the short season that's been so far, is whatever you think you knew, or the way you thought about these tracks before and the way you approached these things before, just forget all about it, because this is a whole new ball game with this car and with everything we're doing this year. So you got to forget what you knew in the past and focus on what it takes to make this thing go, which we're still trying to figure out. So hopefully we can make some steps in the right direction this weekend. And obviously it's been a great track for all of us driver-wise as well. So you just try to take what we know about it and apply it in practice this morning and throughout the weekend.
It's more just kind of anxious for me, because I'm, I run the simulator and whatnot, and I run this guy's setup and that guy's setup, and they're on different planets, and I'm like, somebody's right and somebody's wrong. I don't know, and so we'll know within 2 laps, like, are we in the ballpark or not? And so the tough part is, like he said, you're kind of locked into your springs and whatnot, so your adjustments are somewhat limited when you get here. It's almost like a COVID schedule, only you just get some laps with your car, and you get to kind of fine tune it or tweak it. So if you're way off, you just can't really wholesale it like you used to. So for me, it's just, I'm anxious to see after lap 2, like, did we guess right?
Nathan Song with the podium finish. This is for either of you. Last week was the first road course race with the next-gen car, and obviously the steering's different, the transmission's different. Compared to the old car, do you like that better, or do you like the new car with the rack and pinion steering and the sequential shifter?
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's fine.
There's no preference?
It's just different. No preference one way or the other. Obviously, it's from a road course perspective, I think the car races better on road courses with the independent rear suspension, the shifting, obviously. But I mean, the gearing is what's interesting. Like last week, we had 5 gears. We didn't only use 4 of them. We didn't use 5th gear, which is we missed kind of aligned on what that was going to be. But it's fine. But yeah, just getting used to it all.
All right, we're going to come up to Claire and then Kelly.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Denny, I talked to your crew chief, and he was saying, these are really good teams. That initially the season starts and we have some things happening, but the good teams are going to catch up. Yes, we'd like to be better. You're talking about the sim. You're talking about what you don't know. Are you, is it really hard, or do you feel like, hey, we are the elite teams. We have really, really strong depth. We're going to be okay?
Yeah, I think there's confidence in that. I mean, certainly we're trying to create a data point that's good first, and then we can kind of use that for a data point when we do offsets for other racetracks. So Vegas really is the only track that was like, hey, we're all good here. So the short track Phoenix, there was no secret, we all stunk there, and so we can't use that data point when we come to this track, so we all had to kind of guess again, right, on where we need to be. So we're all trying to find it, but I think once we hit on something, we're going to create that point in which we can use for many racetracks and start to be our baseline going forward.
Same, Martin, that you feel confident that you guys will figure it out, and we'll see you guys at the top of the charts?
Yeah, I mean, I have confidence in that. Obviously, it's it's been a process. So, unfortunately, when you start off in this kind of situation where we're at, it's tough to get through it all, work through it all. As Denny mentioned, it takes a lot of information, a lot of things happening and behind the scenes and clicking to make it all where we can just plug some stuff into a computer and it's like, yeah, this could be pretty good. So we're not there yet, but we'll get there, and we've got the resources, we've got the people, we got the dedication of everyone. So just got to work through some things, take some time.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. Denny, from a team owner perspective, looking at this season, NASCAR's always had a long season, but this year with one off weekend, I know there's a lot of teams that are concerned about burnout when it comes to their people as the year goes on. So you as a team owner, is that something you'll worry about with your guys? Will you look at that at all, or will you leave that maybe to Wheels and Steve to just be monitoring everybody?
I mean, I'm not sure what we can do about it. We have to work extreme hours because we don't have, we have to wait on parts. Like our crew chief told me on the plane this morning, don't tear the splitter up. Like, we have legitimate concerns. We won't have a splitter for Martinsville, so don't just be gentle. But how do you do that in race too? So there's just the short supply is causing extended hours, and eventually people just, I think I saw some stuff on, Twitter yesterday that it's like teams are losing a lot of people just because of, workload, and eventually it becomes a problem. And so, we can't afford to just pay them more. I mean, we're trying to do everything we can to tread water right now. So it's just a tough position that we're in, that, the supply chain is just not coming through to us as good as it needs to, but we've designated one supplier to do all the work. And when that one supplier doesn't get the stuff we need, we're stuck because we've told everyone else to pound sand. So it's just a tough spot to be in right now. And the teams, we just don't know what else to do. It is tough to keep your workforce right now, and all teams are losing people.
Matt Weaver, Racing America. Denny, you'd referenced earlier this week on Twitter kind of the changing ethics of racing for the win on short tracks and road courses. Are there any cultural consequences of not curbing that in? And are there any veterans who behind the scenes say, hey, we need to put our best foot forward, or anything like that?
Not really. I don't think there's any consequence to it. I mean, we've seen that, people, you can kind of do whatever, and, and you might be worried about getting wrecked here and there in the future, but in the end, I think it's just become accepted, and the art of passing is just something that isn't quite used as much nowadays. The easier route is just get them out of your way as quick as possible by moving them. And I've done it every time I've done it, it's been unintentional, but it's I think it's become more intentional probably in the years here lately.
And Martin, you too, you've been around this game for a long time. How has that kind of cultural ethics changed over the last 2 decades or so?
Well, I mean, it's definitely changed, as Denny mentioned. It's I think it's part of the way that kids come up racing now. And it's funny, I flew with Harvick a few weeks ago and we had a conversation. I know he told you all the same thing, that he goes to watch this kid race go-karts, and he's like, it's crazy. They all go out there and they just drive through each other from lap 1 of practice, and it's just a normal occurrence. So I think it's just everybody comes up through racing a certain way. I learned a certain way. Denny learned a certain way. Kids nowadays, maybe it's different. I know when I was making my way through the ranks, I was working. I was building my cars. I didn't want to tear the nose off the thing because I knew I had to fix it on Monday, and I had to keep the car in one piece, and we had to, keep our stuff in. We couldn't just go out and buy a bunch of new stuff, I mean, we didn't have the money when I was doing it. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know. I think it's different. You see racing, you see short track racing. It's every race there, the race for the win. Oh, it's exciting because they're knocking the hell out of each other, I mean, that's what everybody wants to see these days. So, I mean, there's a lot of things from different angles. When you look at it, it's different in all those things, and it's made its way here. That's the way it goes. The field gets younger, new guys come in. What used to fly or what didn't used to fly maybe can now. And I think it's certainly a lot different than when I started here.
I think the win at all cost, I think they've seen that the cost is worth it, because there really is no cost. So it's really no cost to them. They it's just there's not enough drivers out there, and I'm guilty of it too. I got spun out of the lead 2 races last year. One cost us the regular season championship. I haven't done anything about it. So maybe that's a message to the competitors that you can do that, and he ain't going to do anything. But I haven't had the opportunity either.
With this car, do you guys feel a lot closer to having it figured out? Or is every race such a different animal that you kind of start over every week?
I mean, we're starting over from our perspective. I'm not sure about Martin's team, but I mean, we're like I say, we're trying to find a point where we're good, and you know, we're decent. We're not shit. We're decent, but we're not great like we have been, you know, for the last 3 years. So we're trying to find that point of where we're good and we can build off of that.
Michael Massey with Front Stretch. Last week, I'm sure you're aware, there were some long cautions. And Justin Marks, I believe he said it wouldn't be NASCAR at a road course if the last 10 laps didn't last an hour. What do you guys think anything should be done to, you know, speed up these caution periods?
I told y'all before the season started, these races are going to be really long. You know, there's going to be more cautions, and cautions will take longer and whatnot. As far as like that particular track, Road America, I mean, yeah, I mean, caution laps, I think, what are they, 10 minutes? It's huge, but I don't know how you, I don't know how you really fix it. You know, it's kind of what we got. I certainly don't know how to fix it. I don't know if it's broken either. I don't know. I mean, maybe we like sitting around for 4.5 hours.
It feels longer in the car than out, just so you know.
All right, that is all the time we have. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Good luck this weekend.